Hello, this is David with entry number 615, I believe, maybe 16. I'm here on some exercise equipment. Right there's my backpack, and I'm here on a Sunday, still Sunday morning technically, and I've been thinking a lot about it, a lot of things recently, and um, you know, the, the weather has finally turned to pretty good. As you can hear above me, the cicadas are still kind of going crazy, but they'll all be dead soon, which is good. Um, but I've been thinking a lot about a lot of things, like I said, and you know, I've been really thinking about motivation and kind of where motivation comes from, or like what purpose does it really serve us. And I think obviously it it does a lot to fulfill needs or desires, right? So if we want something done, we're motivated to complete it through like our own willpower, I suppose. Um, but like, what keeps us motivated? If you're doing something that's short term, motivation's great because it's a short burst of energy, and then you basically do it. You want a cold soda, you walk to the fridge, grab yourself a frosty Coke, and you're done. You want food, you can get into your car and drive to a McDonald's. You're never farther than like 30 minutes away from a McDonald's. You can get a McDonald's Happy Meal pretty easily. But what happens when things take time and and are kind of more like goals? How do you remain motivated for long-term success? And there's some people around me that um, are always they always seem to be looking for motivation. And of course, when I think about anything in general, I usually think about historical perspective. And I think people back in like 30 or 40 years ago, when they needed to be motivated, they were motivated because things were they just needed to be done. You didn't have a lot of like this, kind of like what I mentioned last time. You didn't have a lot of like these niceties that allow you to kind of live in a bubble. You kind of just needed to do things because they needed to be done. So if you needed to pay off that mortgage for your house you bought your family, you just went to work and you did it, and you just did it, and you didn't think about anything else. You just did it because you had to do it. Unfortunately, that kind of system leads to a lot of, in that particular case, led to a lot of broken homes, because you kind of had that situation where the father leaves the family essentially and lives at work. So maybe that's not the best answer. And of course, I don't have a good answer, unfortunately. But what it seems like is, if you adopt that kind of philosophy of that old, 50, 60 years ago mentality of just doing it, but you maintain some perspective on, your family life, making sure you take vacation or whatever, I think you can really do a lot. And I think a big problem with people nowadays is that you kind of expect things to be done for you, or things come to you for no reason. I know I fall into that a lot. Why I ask myself, like, why do I surround myself with people who seem to always let me down in some way or another? And I finally realized a while ago, I've talked about it before, that it's not really them who are failing me, but it's rather my perspective on what is failure. And I know that could be unpackaging it a little more than necessary than I think some people would like to think about. But really, at the end of the day, it's me who is upset, usually, and not them. So it really comes down to where I am. And when I thought about it for a while, it's deficits, of course, on both sides, but it's my responsibility to kind of adjust and realize that these are just people who are looking out for themselves, and they are totally in the right, I guess, in that perspective. They're not trying to do anything malicious or cruel. They're just thinking about themselves before others. And I just have to accept that that's just how some people are, or most people are nowadays. And that's fine, really. But going back to motivation, I really feel like all you have to do is just do a lot of stuff. If you want to change, do the change you want to see. If people get hung up a lot on kind of intricacies or kind of like these small details of life, when in reality, most of the time it just boils down to doing it and following through. And I can't really tell you how many times I've seen people kind of fail at their goals simply because they lose sight of the goal in itself. If you want to be a millionaire, do it. It's not hard, really. I mean, you just have to not spend money on a lot of things, but most people could be millionaires if they wanted to be. But they allow themselves to get swept up in things like eating meals out, drinking alcohol, taking vacation. You might think that these are necessary, but they're not. Just save your money and you could be a millionaire by the time you're 60 years old. Kind of easily. But just thinking about this kind of more and more, and kind of what takes people off their track now. Is it selfishness? Is it stupidity? Is it ignorance? I don't know yet, but it's a very fascinating thing to me because so many people that are around me and in my age group, my peer group, somehow fall off their goal path, or they never even start it to begin with, which is a whole nother issue. It's like, why even have goals anymore if if you're too afraid to even start them? I know that I fall into that too. To be honest, I do. I really do. And it's just something to think about. And anyway, rambled on enough. Thanks for watching, and I will talk with you in a couple of days. Bye.